Ladies and gentlemen, announcing the arrival of the President of the Republic of the Philippines and Commander-in-Chief of our Armed Forces, His Excellency Joseph Ejercito Estrada.
Tanghol! Ha! Mga Pinuno, tanghal. Ha!
Thank you.
Mga
Please
Pinuno,
be
baba.
seated.
Ta! Dadala. Please. Bobo! Ha! Ginawa ang tanong pangdangal. Ang tanong po, panlibutin. Tanghol! Ha! Mga Pinuno, tanghal. Ta! Mga Pinuno, baba. Ta! Dadala. Please. Bobo! Ha! Pino, tapos na po ang parangal. Mga kasama, ipinaabot ng ating mahal na Pangulo ang kanyang kadakilaan, Joseph Ejercito Estrada, ang kanyang taus-pusong pasasalamat sa malugod na pagtanggap at sa parangal na iginawad sa kanya ngayong umaga.
Ladies and gentlemen, His Excellency Joseph Ejercito Estrada.
Mga watawat, subalunon. Had! Angkat pakanon. Had!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the parade and review in honor of General Joselin Berdin Nazareno and the change of command of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. Focusing your attention on the ground, arrayed before you information of the PMA cadets, the female battalion, the major services battalions in their distinctive gala uniforms, the massed AFP unit colors is at the center. Also participating in this parade in their battle dress attire are battalions from the Philippine Army's Special Operations Command, Philippine Marine Corps, Philippine Air Force Special Operations Wing, another Philippine Army battalion composed of our brothers from the South, the AFP Reservist Battalion, and the Mechanized Battalion formed in front of the GHQ building. The troop commander for this occasion is the Deputy Chief of Staff for Reservist and Retiree Affairs of the Armed Forces, Major General Jose Villaruz Balahaja Jr.
May we request everyone to rise for the multi-faith invocation to be officiated by the chaplains of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, led by Colonel Jovito Cordero, the Chief Chaplain, AFP.
Tayo'y manalangin. Panginoon ng lahat ng nilikha, Ikaw ang bukal ng buhay at kadluan ng grasya. Iyong winika na kung saan may dalawa o tatlo na nagtitipon sa iyong pangalan, Ikaw ay sumasa kanila. Gabayan ninyo kami ngayong umaga upang saksiyan ang pagsasalin ng tungkulin at responsibilidad bilang Estado Mayor ng Hukbong Sandatahang Lakas ng Pilipinas. Sa pamamagitan ng seremonyang ito, Ikaw ay aming pinasasalamatan at dinadakila aming Ama sa iyong kabutihan sa mga nakalipas na panahon, sa mga panahon kung kailan di mabilang na mga biyaya ang aming natanggap buhat sa iyo, na nagbigay sa amin ng higit na inspirasyon upang lalong magsumikap na makuha ang puso at isipan ng aming kapwa at mabigyan daan ang lalo pang paglalapit ng militar at sibilyan. Hiniling din namin na palakasin mo at patatagin ang dati at bagong Estado Mayor upang manatili sila sa matapat na pakitungo at malinis na pag-iisip sa lahat ng gawain Bayaan mo na sila ay mangibabaw sa paggawa ng desisyon. Sila ay biyayaan mo ng katapangan na di mahihimok ng inustisya at kamalian at walang takot kapag ang matuwid at katotohanan ay nasa pagsubok. Sa wakas, aming pinananariwa ang pagpatatalaga ng aming sarili sa iyo. O Diyos na aming Ama, naway manatili kayo na aming pag-asa at kaligtasan, tanggulan at lakas, at aming patnubay, siya nawa.
Thank you. Please be seated.
In a few moments, the Philippine Air Force F-5s, the Freedom Fighters, from the 5th Fighter Wing under the command of Brigadier General Adalberto Yap, will be performing the high-speed opener pass, signaling the start of this moment's ceremonies. Sit back, and here he comes. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The F-5 was flown by Captain June Bartolome.
Andadala, kalis. Tanghal sandata. Andadala, kalis. Tanghal. Ho! Tanghal. Ta! Tanghal. Ha!
Please rise for the presentation of troops.
Tanghal. Ta!
Thank you. Please be seated.
Baba. Ta! Dadala. Kalis. Baba sandata.
Baba kamay. Ha.
Baba. Ta! Dadala. Kalis. Baba. Ho!
Baba.
Ta! Da baba. Kalis baba. Ta! Ginoo, handa na po ang mga sampana upang libutin.
Our beloved honoree and distinguished is tracing his humble beginnings in Opon, Cebu, now Lapu-Lapu City. He first saw the light of day in the midst of war on April 8, 56 summers ago. He finished his primary education at the Opon Elementary School in Lapu-Lapu City and secondary education from the Cebu Provincial High School. He was a chemical engineering student at the University of Southern Philippines when his desire for a more challenging career came in 1962. He entered the Philippine Military Academy and subsequently graduated as a proud member of the illustrious class of 1966.
His military career can be best described as a blend of sensitive command and staff positions in the armed forces of the Philippines. His first assignment as an officer was with the 4th Military Area, where he proved himself as a tactical officer, platoon leader, staff officer, and as a company commander with the 26th Infantry Battalion, 4th Infantry Division. A well-rounded officer, the honoree has gone through various assignments. Noteworthy to mention were as an operations officer U3 of the Central Mindanao Command at the height of the secessionist conflict in Mindanao in 1973, battalion commander of the 15th Infantry Battalion of the 3rd Infantry Division, Chief of Staff of the Regional Unified Command 8, Chief of Staff of the 4th Infantry Division, Commanding General of the 603rd Brigade of the 6th Infantry Division, Commanding General of the General Headquarters and Headquarters Service Command Armed Forces of the Philippines, the Camp Commander of Camp Aguinaldo.
He was a noted effective civil military operations officer during his term as Deputy Chief of Staff for Civil Military Operations J7 for more than a year, until he became the Commanding General of the 4th Infantry Division and subsequently Chairman of the Government of the Republic of the Philippines Panel and the Moro Islamic Liberation Front Subcommittee on the Cessation of Hostilities. The exceptional accomplishments he had with the 4th Infantry Division prompted his appointment as Commander of the Southern Command, Armed Forces of the Philippines on 15 January 1998 and Chairman of the GRP-MILF Subcommittee on Cessation of Hostilities. His highly distinguished achievements and indisputable military reputation led to the realization of his appointment as Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces of the Philippines on 1 July 1998.
The honoree is a graduate of the Infantry Officer Advanced Course in Fort Benning, Georgia, in the United States of America. He also took up the General Staff course at the Command and General Staff College of the Armed Forces of the Philippines at Fort Bonifacio. A well-decorated officer, the honoree's fruitful military career earned him 6 Distinguished Service Stars, 2 Bronze Cross Medals, 6 Military Merit Medals, a Military Commendation Medal, the Long Service Medal, the AFP Parachutist Badge, the Silver Wing Medal, Anti-Dissidence Campaign Medal and Ribbon, and 3 Mindanao Sulu Campaign Medal and Ribbons. The honoree is an outstanding government service awardee of the Ministry of Services and Social Development in 1980.
He spent almost 30 years of his more than 37 military years with the soldiers in the field, treating them as his own.
Considered as a very responsible father, not just to the armed forces, but to his very own family as well, the honoree was bestowed the Ulirang Ama Award on June 20, 1999, ceremony held at Kalayaan Hall, Malacanang Palace. The award is given to outstanding Filipino fathers who have done significant achievements in their respective fields of endeavor and that of being a father.
The honoree is happily married to the former Miss Minerva Dinero Colina of Tron Lebac, Cotabato, and they are blessed with 3 Joes, Jomini, Johnner, and Jolly.
Ladies and gentlemen, the honoree, the outgoing Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, General Joselin Berdin Nazareno.
Ang dadala. Kalis. Ang may dala ng parangal at mga watawat, pumagit na... Cut!
the Philippine Legion of Honor in the degree of Commander. This award is given by the President of the Republic of the Philippines to the Chief of Staff, Vice Chief of Staff, and Commanders of Major Services, Armed Forces of the Philippines, or their equivalents in the armed forces of friendly foreign nations, and to civilians such as the President of the Senate, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, and the heads of department or their equivalent in friendly foreign nations for eminently meritorious and valuable service in a position of major responsibility.
Award. Ho! Ginoo, narito na po ang taong pararangalan at mga watawat. Sa aking pag-uutos, tanghal! Ta!
Please rise for the honors to the flag.
Tanghal! Ta!
Thank you. Please be seated.
Baba. Ta. Dadala. Kalis. Baba. Ta. Baba.
Ladies and gentlemen, we shall now witness the presentation of the award to General Jocelyn Berdin Nazareno, Armed Forces of the Philippines. May we request His Excellency Joseph Ejercito Estrada to present the award, to be assisted by the Vice Chief of Staff, Major General Victor Arizabal Mayo, and Mrs. Minerva Nazareno. The citation will be read by Colonel Antonio Empuño, Philippine Air Force, the Adjutant General, AFP.
Republic of the Philippines, Department of National Defense, General Headquarters, Armed Forces of the Philippines, Camp General Emilio Aguinaldo, Quezon City, 7 July 1999. General Orders Number 759. By direction of the President, the Philippine Legion of Honor in the degree of Commander is awarded to General Jocelyn B. Nazareno, ODAS 5133, Armed Forces of the Philippines, for eminently meritorious and valuable service rendered to the Philippine government, particularly to the Armed Forces of the Philippines, as Chief of Staff from 1 July 1998 to 8 July 1999. General Nazareno steered the AFP towards the path of excellence in such concerns as organizational reforms, national security, economic stability, and social progress. He instituted a policy on advancement of the AFP into a more versatile organization, trustworthy and responsive to the calls of nationhood and progress, and subsequently laid down the blueprint for attaining such in a published material entitled The Chief of Staff, Armed Forces of the Philippines, First 100 Days, Preparing the Armed Forces for the Next Millennium. His conviction that the individual soldier is the lifeblood of the organization, he directed the continuous training and education of soldiers to enhance their intellectual and technical capabilities and gave premium to the upliftment of their morale and welfare. He rallied the Filipino soldiers into exercising the maximum tolerance in dealing with dissidents and in diverting their energies and resources from war towards development activities. His decisive leadership saw the AFP participating actively in the government's various efforts on anti-criminality campaign, in securing the peaceful and orderly turnover of the SBMA chairmanship, in the transportation of mails and other cargoes during the 2 weeks hiatus in Philippine Airlines services in 1998, rescue, relief, and rehabilitation action during calamities, in the National Voluntary Blood Service Program through LOI Sagip Buhay Bayan 0-198, and in the Clean and Green Program through tree planting and declogging of esteros and waterways. Pending the full implementation of the modernization program, he conceptualized the AFP Sustained Capability Enhancement Program as a most interim solution to the current defense problems of the country. He sanctioned the conduct of 12 training exercises among major services with foreign counterparts to improve the AFP interoperability and increase the level of preparedness, which is deemed imperative in the light of the volatile situation in the Asia-Pacific region. By these achievements, General Nazareno earned the respect and admiration of the Philippine government and the Filipino people. By order of the Secretary of National Defense, Official Luisito F. Fernandez, Vice Admiral AFP, the Deputy Chief of Staff, signed Antonio M. Puño, Colonel PFGSE, the Adjutant General.
Dadala. Kalis. Mga watawat, sumalunan. Ha! Rap sa kaliwa. Hap! Sumalikod ko. Ha! Pasamasid! Ang dadala. Alis. May punan sa likod ko. Hat!
Mga kalapanan sa malikod ko. Kad.
Talupad, unang talupad, tsaka kanan. Hard! Tulong.
As General Nazareno steps down from his post, he bows out assured and confident that the armed forces of the Philippines shall continue to move on towards greater heights. For his successor, just like him, has been reared in the same standard of excellence and professionalism that have been General Nazareno's hallmark as a career officer in the Armed Forces of the Philippines.
Ladies and gentlemen, approaching from your left are the members of the Joint Staff rendering honors to the outgoing Chief of Staff, led by the Deputy Chief of Staff, Vice Admiral Luisito Fernandez. The Joint Staff are Colonel Lamberto Siliona, J1, Major General Jose Calimlim, J2, Colonel Fernando Doria, J3, Colonel Nelson Albano, J4, Major General Felix Dueñas Jr., J5, Brigadier General Roy Simato, J6, Brigadier General Ernesto Carolina, J7, Major General Alfonso Cagurangan, J8, EXO of J10, Colonel Bernate, Colonel Delmar Teves, J11, and Captain Amable Tolentino of the Navy, Secretary of Joint Staff.
Following next are the various contingents of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, ang mga makabagong katipunero, ang mga kawal Pilipino, makadiyos, makakalikasan, makatao at makabansa. The troop commander for this parade is Major General Jose Villaruz Balaharia Jr., his staff, Commodores Erlindo Erolin and Dante Ruiz, Brigadier Generals Dionisio Santiago, Pedro Atienza, Jesse James Catral, and Adelberto Yap.
Following the troop commander and staff is the AFP Composite Band under the baton of Major Leandro G. Ortega, Philippine Army.
Approaching the grandstand is the 1st Brigade led by Commodore Pastor R. Ramos Jr., his staff, Colonel Stephen Parazo, Army, Colonel Dominador Ariola, Army, Colonel Virgilio Baez, Air Force, Colonel Fred Losa, Air Force, and Captain Petronilo Magno, Navy.
From the Philippine Military Academy, our country's premier military institution, the Cadet Corps Armed Forces of the Philippines, led by Cadet First Class Dominic Benauro. His staff are Cadets First Class Gaylord Ordoño, Brian Barawed, Andrew Cagape, Juan Celebrado.
The mission of the Philippine Military Academy is to train and develop the cadet corps so that each graduate shall possess strength of character and a deep arsenal of basic skills and knowledge essential to the successful pursuit of military career.
The 2nd Battalion of the Cadet Corps Armed Forces of the Philippines is led by Cadet First Class Benjamin C. Solis. His staff are Cadets First Class Vincent Arthur de la Vega, Giovanni Cando, William Romero, and Rex Galano.
Since its founding in 1905, the Academy has produced each year an adequately trained force of young officers imbued with ideals of courage, integrity, and loyalty. These are the fine young men and women who in a few years from now will command the different units of the Armed Forces of the Philippines.
Equally snappy as their male counterparts are the present-day Gabriela Silang, the trained lady auxiliaries of our armed forces led by Major Jane Cabañas. His staff are Captain Sharon Hernale, Helen Nava, Ani Abella, and Connie Cunanan. The AFP started accepting female soldiers in 1963 to prove that women are equally capable of defending our country and our people. They may not be in direct combat, but they can be a significant part of any kind of war or crisis situation.
The Army is represented by a battalion from the 291st Security and Escort Group led by Lieutenant Colonel Antonio I. Supnet, his staff, Major Manuel Sumayaw, and Captains Albert Baybayan, Leoncio Cawil, and Felipe Abisamis. This composite group is especially trained for area security and for rendering military honors to important personages and visiting dignitaries. They likewise provide security and escort to VIPs and other special guests.
Following are the protectors of the Philippine seas and the first line of defense to uphold our territorial integrity, the Philippine Navy. The Navy Battalion is led by Commander Wenceslao Maynes. His staff are Lieutenant Commanders Severino David, Raul Ubando, Antonio Santos, and Elson Aguilar. The Navy secures our territorial waters and conducts relief operations in support of our troops and also performs mercy missions and rescue and relief operations in times of calamities and protects our marine resources and environment.
Next, we have the Angels of Mercy and the Guardians of the Philippine Skies, the Air Force Battalion led by Colonel Vigildo Tabares. His staff, Majors Roximir Pestaño, Danilo Frio, Pedro Torres, and Emmanuel Maglasang. The Philippine Air Force is primarily tasked to secure our country's airspace as a forward defense shield. It provides tactical air support to counterinsurgency operations and mobility to our troops and equipment, and conducts search, rescue, and relief operations during calamities.
Ladies and gentlemen, let us please rise for the colors. Thank you. Please be seated. The colors represent the different major services and APWAD separate and support units of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. The color officer is Captain Juan Santos of the Army.
The 2nd Brigade is under the command of Brigadier General Romeo B. Dominguez. His staff, Colonels Ruben Crisologo, Army, Teofilo de los Santos Jr., Navy Marine, Cesar Pamaong, Air Force, Teofilo Lood, Air Force, and Natalio Tereno, Navy Marines.
Leading the brigade is the Philippine Army's Special Operations Command Battalion, headed by Major Romeo Cabatic. His staff are Captains Mar Robles, James Balaino, Juris Juanites, and Fred Sanchez. The Special Operations Command, or SOCOM, was organized on June 1, 1996. SOCOM specializes in intelligence, demolition, communications, weapons, search and rescue and relief operations, counter-terrorist as well as psychological operations. This command is composed of the Special Forces, the Scout Rangers, and the PSYOPs operators.
Approaching is the representative of the best in soldiery, the few, the proud, the Philippine Marines. The battalion is commanded by Major Jose Panes Jr. His staff, Captains Edmund Yurong, Ranulfo Guimarangan, Edmundo Luzon, and Enrico Chavez.
The Philippine Marine Corps is a specially trained fighting unit of the Navy designed for rapid deployment. It can conduct amphibious counterinsurgency and special operations in all kinds of terrain and weather. The Marines are well known for their fine fighting qualities, endurance, and combat effectiveness.
Following is the Philippine Air Force Battalion, represented by the 7th Special Operations Wing, led by Lieutenant Colonel Gerardo Biñar. His staff, Majors Teodoro Parma, Felix Abay, Remigio Ferrer, and Mark Moric. The mission of the Special Operations Wing is to conduct contingency operations for the defense of the Philippine Air Force's bases and other installations.
The following battalion is composed of new probationary second lieutenants and privates that had been integrated to the Armed Forces of the Philippines as embodied in the peace agreement between the government and the Moro National Liberation Front signed on September 2, 1996. In this morning's parade, the battalion is led by Major Fidel Paz. His staff are Captains Nicanor Pilar, Taharudin Ampatuan, Rodolfo Di Juan, and Lieutenant Virgilio Viterbo.
Behind the special unit of the Philippine Army are the 2 AFP reservist battalions. The 1st Battalion comes from the Philippine Army led by Lieutenant Colonel Gregorio Javier. His staff, 1st Lieutenants Gregorio Ardales Jr., Norman Bondoc, and Rodolfo Barboza Jr., and 2nd Lieutenant Antonio Aviquivil. The Army reservists provide the expansion to the armed forces of the Philippines during national and local emergencies. They are composed of mostly professionals, businessmen, graduates of ROTC, and former 5.5 or 1.5 months cadre, trainees, and students.
Next, we have the reservists from the Navy and the Air Force under the command of Lieutenant Colonel Enrico Soriano, Air Force. His staff are Captains Rodolfo de Guzman, Navy, Captain Arturo Interior, Navy, Captain Alfredo Atienza, Air Force, and Captain Tudor Cabanatan, Air Force. The Navy Reservists are actively involved in coastal environment protection, particularly in the offshore planting of man-made or artificial reefs in the different pilot areas throughout the country to help raise the level of fish resources needed by the growing population. The Air Force Reservists assist the Philippine Air Force in the search, rescue, and relief operations during disasters or calamities, and in its non-traditional role in socio-economic development during peacetime.
Approaching is the motorized battalion led by Colonel Virgilio Cahucog. His staff, Majors Lemmy Maglaya, Ruben Facundo, Demetrio Ramon, and Ledegario de la Paz. The first line of the armor assets is composed of the latest Army acquisition, the Simba armored fighting vehicles under the command of Captain Abe Arenga. The Simba is a high-performance and versatile wheeled armored fighting vehicle designed for demanding operations where mobility and reliability combined with high level of protection are essential. It can travel at a speed of 100 kilometers per hour on the road and offers a smooth ride over countryside terrains. Its Simba is armed with a 50 heavy machine gun, and presently Simba armored fighting vehicles are being assembled at the Subic Freeport Zone.
Coming up next are the V-150 Commandos, led by First Lieutenant Ramon Evangelista. These are the wheeled armored fighting vehicles designed for military operations in build-up areas. These vehicles are armed with caliber 50 heavy machine guns.
Are the V-300 of the Marines under the command of Captain Rodier de la Peña. The command of V-300 is a highly maneuverable amphibious six-wheel drive of exceptional versatility. It can drive through barricades of small trees and is capable of moving 5 miles per hour in water and 110 kilometers per hour on land. This type of armored vehicle is indispensable armored vehicles during both conventional and unconventional operations.
Following next is the Armored Infantry Fighting Vehicles, led by First Lieutenant Russell Hentica. The Armored Infantry Fighting Vehicles serve as a force multiplier, enhances greater mobility, firepower, and shock effect to ensure a speedy accomplishment of the armor mission. The two Armored Infantry Fighting Vehicles are in Unbar camouflage. These are Army's armor assets detailed at the Presidential Security Group in charge to secure the President of the Republic of the Philippines.
Trailing behind are the artillery assets of the Philippine Army led by Major Oscar Barrera. The battery commanders are First Lieutenant Alarec P. de los Santos, Captain Hugo Espiritu, and First Lieutenant Robert Magin. The first line of the artillery assets, we have the Italian howitzer, which was introduced in the country in 1974. This is suited for the rugged and mountainous terrain of the country because it could be disassembled into 12 major parts, and it can be drawn by a carabao or towed by a jeep.
Following next, the 105mm US M101A1. This 105 is the primary artillery assets of the Philippine Army. It has a colorful combat history dating back as early as World War II, when these artillery pieces were commissioned as a major fire support weapon of the USAF at Fort Stutzenberg in Clark Field, now called the U, acronym for the Division Artillery Unit in Pampanga. The robust material has a maximum range of 11 kilometers and is primarily used as a direct support weapon to the operating troops of the AFP.
Next, we have the 155mm gun howitzer, Israel Sultan, the most powerful of the artillery assets in the Army's inventory. This kind of howitzer has a range capability of 23 kilometers. At present, 155mm gun howitzers are being used as an overall combat support in all infantry units.
The flyby was led by the SF-260 turboprop aircraft from 100 Training Wing under Brigadier General Benjamin Defensor, followed by UH-1 helicopters from the 2 OPIP Tactical Operations Wing under the command of Brigadier General Fernando de Guzman Jr. The MG-520 helicopters from the 15th Strike Wing are under the command of Colonel Enrique Abad.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have just seen a segment of your armed forces pass before you. These fine young men and women represent our brothers and sisters out there in the fields, from Batanes to Tawi-Tawi, defending the people from all those who wish to take away our freedom and independence and destroy our democratic institutions.
That was the closing pass from the F-5s under the Brigadier General Adalberto Yap of the 5th Fighter Wing.
Kaliwa. Cut.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines, just like other armed services, is steeped in time-honored customs and traditions,
No.
which distinguish the military establishment
Aba.
from other institutions.
The turnover ceremony between General Jocelyn Berdin Nazareno and General Angelo Tomas Reyes, in the presence of our Commander-in-Chief, His Excellency Joseph Ejercito Estrada, is but one of those traditions that has strengthened the armed forces of the Philippines as one of the most dependable pillars of the country.
Ladies and gentlemen, we shall now proceed with the change of command ceremony.
The Adjutant General AFP, Colonel Antonio Empuño, Philippine Air Force, will now read the relief and designation orders.
Republic of the Philippines, Department of National Defense, General Headquarters, Armed Forces of the Philippines, Camp General Emilio Aguinaldo, Quezon City, 8 July 1999. General Orders number 760. Section 1, Termination of Designation. By direction of the President of the Republic of the Philippines, His Excellency Joseph Ejercito Estrada, the designation of General Jocelyn B. Nazareno, ODAS 5133, Armed Forces of the Philippines, as Chief of Staff, Armed Forces of the Philippines, is terminated effective 8 July 1999. Section 2, Designation. By direction of the President of the Republic of the Philippines, His Excellency Joseph Ejercito Estrada, General Angelo T. Reyes, ODAS 5103, Armed Forces of the Philippines, is designated as Chief of Staff, Armed Forces of the Philippines, effective 8 July 1999. By order of the Secretary of National Defense, Official Luisito F. Fernandez, Vice Admiral AFP, the Deputy Chief of Staff, signed Antonio Empuño, Colonel PEF GSE, the Adjutant General.
The outgoing Chief of Staff, Armed Forces of the Philippines, General Jocelyn Berdin Nazareno, will now give his remarks.
The President of the Republic of the Philippines and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, His Excellency Joseph Ejercito Estrada, the Vice President of the Republic of the Philippines, Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, the former Chief of Staff and ex-President of the Republic of the Philippines, Fidel B. Ramos, the incoming Senate President of the Senate Republic of the Philippines, Senator Blas Ople, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Congressman Villar, the direct boss of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, the Secretary of National Defense, Secretary Mercado, the Executive Secretary, Secretary Zamora, the other members of the Senate present, the other the members of the House of Representatives, my great General Angelo Reyes and Mrs. Reyes, I greet the former Chief of Staff, Ambassador Yan, General Espino, General Lisandro Abadja. Allow me to give a special greeting to the grand old man who was my favorite when I was a camp commander, who used to say the necro services, but he is still alive. General Mata, sir. The major service commanders present. Fellow officers, civilian employees, my wife, Girlie, and my 3 children who are witnessing my retirement. The other guests present, good morning to all of you. Previous Chief of Staff, including former President Ramos when he turned over command and was retiring from the service, trooped the line by walking, as if they are not tired walking in their life. Or maybe they have not walked enough when they were still in the active service. So this morning, I saw to it that I will ride that review car for the last time. And that is the only time a Chief of Staff can really ride that as an honoree. The rest of the time, he rode on that car as the escort of the President of the Republic of the Philippines. In the finest military tradition, the passing of the saber stands as one of the most enduring symbols of the turning over of leadership from one to another. It is a fitting gesture that the stewardship of the Armed Forces of the Philippines is entrusted to a man deemed worthy of its leadership. And today, I am proud and greatly honored to have passed it on the able hands of General Angelo Tomas Reyes. Troop Commander, magbigay ng tikas pahinga.
Nadala. Kalis. Tikas. Ha!
As the 37 and 3 months years of my military service draws to a close today, I stand before you in a flurry of thoughts and mixed emotions. What a journey it has been. One taken in great faith from my roots in Cebu City to the exacting halls of the Philippine Military Academy, where I learned discipline, to the terrains of the battlefield, where I learned how to control my fears, and the imposing walls of command, where I was guided by integrity and love of country. I have come full circle and thank God for seeing me through every step of the way. And so I seize these few remaining moments of my military career to share my thoughts on the issues that have tremendous impact in the present-day life of our nation and will no doubt shape our future priorities and actions as an armed forces of the people. Foremost, I wish to impart that peace remains the most important ideal that we must aspire to attain in our time. The road to peace is never easy, but nevertheless, we must pave the way. In good faith and with firm resolve, if we envision real growth and progress for our nation and our people, reason and unity must always prevail, so that as a nation we can focus all our energies and resources to economic recovery and move onwards to a faster pace of development. Second is my fervent hope that the national leadership continue to push forth the AFP modernization program in its truest essence. Although the acquisition of sophisticated equipment is our goal, I understand very well the limitation of our meager resources. However, we do not have the luxury of time to postpone this indefinitely. A frontline Asian states such as ours must deem it utmost priority to provide security to our people by protecting our growing economic interest and integral boundaries. We must learn well from the lessons of history and heed the call for vigilance and preparedness. Third and last would be the upliftment of the Filipino soldier, whom I continue to regard as the embodiment of the strength and capability of the armed forces of the Philippines. It is in this light that I extend my gratitude to our Commander-in-Chief, His Excellency Joseph Ejercito Estrada, not just for the full trust and confidence he has bestowed on me as Chief of Staff, but for his overwhelming support to our soldiers, especially those who slug it out in the fields of battle. Your presence in their midst makes it known that you are one with them in their ideals, and made a lasting impression that their Commander-in-Chief is behind them all the way. The most vivid memory I have on my tour of duty as Chief of Staff was when I saw the President salute the frontline troops in Cotabato. It was an instant marriage that maybe will remain forever in the mind of the soldiers and in their memory. Likewise, our Secretary of National Defense, the Honorable Orlando S. Mercado, for judiciously supporting the modernization of the AFP, as well as the uplifting of the well-being of the entire defense community. My many thanks to the Vice Chief of Staff, the Deputy Service Commander, the Deputy Chief of Staff, the service commanders. I have two retired, General Hotchkiss and General Orhillo, the J staff who serve under me, the unified commanders, for all the vital inputs, support, and cooperation that have greatly contributed in the overall mission accomplishment of the Armed Forces of the Philippines during my tour of duty. I also recognize the efforts of our counterparts in the civilian sector for helping us in several projects that have proven to be of utmost benefit to our overall national development trust. To all the civilian agencies, I say thanks to you. Allow me at this particular moment to express my sincere gratitude to the people whose love and guidance have made me this, being a soldier and a man of arms, well worth it. To my parents, my father who died 4 months before I made my first star, Jose Nazareno, in 1992. My mother, Lydia Nazareno, who is in Cebu now, almost 88 years old. my loving and only wife, Minerva, in Manila. My 3 children, Jumini, Junior, and Jolly. The 4 of them are the real source of my strength and inspiration. And to you, I express a very sincere thanks for having been with me all through the years in spite of my circumstances. Thank you very much for your love and support. I will also acknowledge the many lessons I learned from the previous commanders I have served in the Armed Forces of the Philippines, starting with General Abat. I do not know whether General Mison is here. He's one of the fondest memories that I have. To the other generals who I have the privilege of giving orders when you were colonel and I was still a captain, that experience gave me also lessons in my military career. To all of you who have one way or another contributed to the learning process that I have in this armed forces. Last but not least, to the enduring hope and most valuable resource of the armed forces of the Philippines, the Filipino soldier, whose faith, dedication, and innate courage is in a class by itself. Thank you for proving yourselves of great worth to this nation in this most challenging of times, and for contributing greatly to my vision of an armed forces worthy of the people's trust. To have led you in the most formidable odds is the greatest honor I shall bring with me in my march towards a new life. As I relinquish this post to a worthy successor, it is my hope that you will render unto him the same brand of service you have accorded me as your Chief of Staff. With faith and fervor, rally behind him as he leads you to a greater plane of challenge. To General Reyes, I have no doubt in my mind that with your qualifications, innate leadership, and great resolve, you will continue to uphold this institution to the greatness it belongs and lead it to achieve the ideal painstakingly built by the many others before us. You have the rare honor to lead the Armed Forces of the Philippines into the new millennium, and with it, I give you my full and wholehearted support. To all the employees, personnel of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, in gratitude to all of you, I now bid you farewell in the hope that you will carry on a manner no less worthy of your schooling. Sa ating paghihiwalay, naway sa tulong ng Diyos ay patuloy na maghari sa bawat Pilipino ang tunay na diwa ng pagtulungan, pagkakaisa at kapayapaan. Mabuhay ang sandatahang lakas ng Pilipinas at mabuhay tayong lahat.
Pinuno.
I will now read my relinquishment order. Republic of the Philippines, Department of National Defense, General Headquarters, Armed Forces of the Philippines, Office of the Chief of Staff, Camp General Emilio Aguinaldo, Quezon City, 8 July 1999. Office Orders Number 9905. Relinquishment of office. Pursuant to Paragraph 1, Section 1. JA Orders Number 760, General Headquarters, Armed Forces of the Philippines, dated 7 July 1999, I hereby relinquish the duties and responsibilities of the Chief of Staff, Armed Forces of the Philippines, effective this date, and I sign.
Mga sampanaw!
Sergeant Major, hold down my flag.
Baba.
For the change of command ceremony this morning, we are given an opportunity to share with our guests and colleagues in the government service one of the armed forces of the Philippines' customs and traditions. For the outgoing Chief of Staff, as he relinquishes his duties and responsibilities to his successor, one of his last orders is the lowering of his personal flag. The lowering of the personal flag symbolizes that he is no longer in command of the armed forces of the Philippines.
General Reyes, handa na akong papalitan.
At this point, we shall witness the reading of assumption orders by the incoming Chief of Staff, Armed Forces of the Philippines, General Angelo Tomas Reyes.
General Headquarters, Armed Forces of the Philippines, Camp Aguinaldo, Quezon City. Office Orders number 99-06. Assumption of office. Pursuant to paragraph 2, section 2, General Orders number 760. General Headquarters, Armed Forces of the Philippines, dated 7 July 1999. I hereby assume the duties and responsibilities of the Chief of Staff, Armed Forces of the Philippines, effective this date, and I sign. Nazareno, sir, I relieve you.
We shall now witness the handover of the command symbols with the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces as presiding officer.
The standard symbolizes authority and unity. In carrying this, the Chief of Staff recognizes the immense responsibility of the positions he holds and commits himself to wielding his authority and power for the accomplishment of the AFP's mission.
The College is a symbol of power and prestige, which are closely associated with military leadership and warfare. In today's armed forces, the College continues to stand for power, which the position of authority wields as it seeks to direct its efforts towards the accomplishment of its mission.
Today, therefore, the Armed Forces of the Philippines witness once more the turnover of its leadership, and in doing so, recommit itself to recognizing the responsibility and the authority of the new Chief of Staff.
The new Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, General Angelo Tomas Reyes, will now order the Armed Forces of the Philippines Sergeant Major to hoist his flag.
Sergeant Major, hoist my flag.
For the new Chief of Staff, one of his first orders is the hoisting of his personal flag, symbolizing that he is now in command of the Armed Forces of the Philippines.
The newly designated Chief of Staff, General Angelo Tomas Reyes, will now give his remarks.
Troop Commander, give the troops tikas pahinga.
Dadala. Kalis. Tikas. Ha! Tikas. Ha.
Our President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, His Excellency Joseph Ejercito Estrada, our Vice President, the Honorable Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, our former President and former Chief of Staff, General Fidel Valdez Ramos, the incoming Senate President, according to intelligence reports, usually reliable intelligence reports, Senator Ka Blas Ople, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, the Honorable Manuel Villar, the primus inter pares in the Cabinet, our Executive Secretary, the Honorable Ronnie Zamora, the Secretary of National Defense, the Honorable Orlando S. Mercado, my worthy predecessor, General Jocelyn B. Nazareno, other distinguished members of the Cabinet, honorable members of the Senate and the House of Representatives. I would rather not enumerate because I might omit some people. Our former Prime Minister of the Republic of the Philippines and my former boss, Prime Minister Ernesto Cesar E.A. Berata, former AFP Chiefs of Staff present, Your Excellencies of the Diplomatic Corps, other distinguished guests, officers, men and civilian employees of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, ladies and gentlemen, my friends. Sa araw pong ito, aking tinatanggap na may lubos na pagpapakumbaba ang pagkakataon at ang hamon ng aking pagkakahirang bilang Chief of Staff ng Sandatahang Lakas ng Pilipinas. Today, I accept with utmost humility the opportunity and the challenge of my designation as Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. Destiny has cast me as a major player in this traditional ritual, a ritual that ensures the permanence and continuity of the AFP as a public institution. In this vein, I thank our Commander-in-Chief President Joseph Ejercito Estrada for the mandate of AFP leadership, of stewardship as your 29th and the Millennium Chief of Staff. I also thank Secretary of National Defense Orlando Mercado for his unwavering endorsement, as I pay similar tribute to General Nazareno for bequeathing to me an armed forces with a solid foundation for our challenging future. My gratitude also goes to all the officers, men and women, with whom I have had the privilege to work with over the years. I would not be here today were it not for your collective effort. It is not I, but all of you who are being recognized today. I shall not let this significant occasion pass without acknowledging my family. My revered mother, Purificación, I think she is here. My mother is going 90 and still going strong. My devoted and uncomplaining wife, Tessie. My sons, Boji, Jet, Mark, Carlo, and Judd. My brothers, sisters, and the rest of my clan. I shall not likewise fail to honor the illustrious memory of my late father, Pablo Reyes Sr. He gave me the gift of life and principle. I sense his ephemeral presence with us, watching over these proceedings, prouder than I could ever be for myself. To my late father, I say, truly, the spring rises not higher than its source. Being Chief of Staff AFP is a gift from the Almighty and the Filipino people. It is a position where many are called, but few are chosen. It is therefore vital that I look upon the position with no small amount of awe. This is to constantly remind me of the need to measure up not only to the immense responsibility of the position, but likewise to the noble traditions of soldiery. I am awed by the challenge, but I am definitely not overwhelmed by it. Indeed, I assume this responsibility under challenging circumstances. As we prepare to cross into the new millennium, one that will increasingly be shaped by quantum leaps in modern technology, the Philippines finds itself at a critical juncture. At its core, our nation's security is threatened by an Asia-wide economic crisis, which, coupled with the vagaries of nature, have made the struggle against poverty more intense in the recent years. These fundamental pressures on the lives of our people have fanned the embers of insurgency and lawlessness in some parts of the archipelago. Some of our misguided countrymen have sought desperate refuge anew in an armed struggle against the state. Others, weary with the pace of regional development, have been lured to pursue secession from the Republic. Still others have simply resorted to criminal ways in lieu of decent livelihood. Our nation's security is likewise buffeted by destructive external winds. The raging dispute over islands on our westernmost borders dictates the need to enhance our capacity to defend our nation's security interests. Elsewhere in the world, we find societies imploding amidst ethnic and religious tensions, rising democratic and socio-economic aspirations, and the race for nuclear parity in some areas of the world. Directly or indirectly, such conflicts shall impact on our society as part of a shrinking global village. Having just celebrated our centennial as Asia's first republic, the Philippines and its armed forces must come to terms with these developments and reassert the very essence of nationhood on the eve of a new century. As a new century beckons, the challenge to the AFP is not merely to maintain the armed forces. The challenge is to create the future AFP that we envision. We have a future to create, the AFP of the 21st century. We shall be the aggressive architects of that future. An armed forces that shall be fully mission effective, right-sized, credibly equipped, versatile, and highly responsive to technological, doctrinal, and sociological changes. In creating our future, we shall be guided by certain core philosophies which remain strongly relevant to the AFP, notwithstanding my earlier advocacy in the Philippine Army. These are, number one, the AFP is laden with public interest, a public enterprise with the Filipino people as its principal stakeholders. Its primary output is a secure environment under which our democratic way of life may prosper. Second, the driving force behind all progressive military and human endeavors is still leadership, enlightened, dynamic, and courageous. Effective leadership and management of the human factor still remain the basic elements behind successful mission accomplishment. Third, the most permanent phenomenon of human existence is impermanence. The AFP must confront change with its established and acquired strength under the mantle of innovative and transparent leadership. And fourth, our primary war should be, first, the war against poverty, and second, the war against war. In the first case, the war against poverty, while the insurgents may be the apparent physical enemy, the intrinsic enemy is really poverty. Poverty which begets widespread, debilitating economic distress. In the second instance of war against war, preparedness is our fundamental weapon. But we shall rely on the use of reason and persuasion so that we shall not be forced to unsheath the sword of combat. The security environment of the 21st century shall be characterized by information technology-driven doctrines and strategies. It will be an era of bilateralism and multilateralism in security arrangements, one where mutually assured deterrence rather than mutually assured destruction shall govern the conduct of international affairs. Military weaponry and equipage of the next millennium shall be compact, mobile, lethal, and accurate, but prone to rapid obsolescence. The technical and geopolitical dynamism of this era requires our armed forces to be attuned to developmental changes and to possess the sophistication for fruitful regional and global military interaction. Given the foregoing security environment and core philosophies, we shall be concerned with the following fundamentals in addressing our current mission requirements and in actualizing the architecture of the 21st century AFP. Firstly, intelligent, courageous, and innovative leadership shall be the heart and soul of the AFP. We shall transform the stereotype of the military leader from a manager of violence to a masterful communicative combatant and productive agent of political, economic, and socio-cultural change beyond the geographies of the battlefield. He shall carry the elan and composure befitting his encounters in combat or in the public fora, able to articulate credibly on military and collateral issues on his feet and on the street. Secondly, knowledge, method, and teamwork shall govern the conduct of all AFP undertakings. A few months back, I maintained that our battles will be fought not just in the geographical combat zones as we commonly visualize them, but also in the marketplace of analytical thought and strategy formulation. Last but not least, and consistent with the proper orientation of our President and Commander-in-Chief, we shall give total priority to the morale and welfare of our men in ranks. After all, they belong to the massa and perhaps even to the poor. In this regard, and among others, I shall ascertain that the AFP financial institutions regain their responsiveness and appropriate to their mandates to alleviate the soldiers' economic plight. Ladies and gentlemen, in the ultimate analysis, the business of national security is inherently a collective undertaking of every Filipino and other instrumentalities of government. The AFP is but a major subset to this undertaking, an instrument of the people's will. As such, we in the AFP are fortunate to have a Commander-in-Chief who has deciphered the soldier's heart and soul better than anyone else. A Commander-in-Chief who has bonded with us in a manner that only a warrior can understand. A Commander-in-Chief who has brushed off fancy theories and position papers, sidestepped the bureaucracy to lend direct support to the exigencies of our mission. We have a Commander-in-Chief who harbors the compassion of a parent and the heart of a true soldier. Mr. President, I say your AFP will be your and the people's reliable instrument for this nation's security. I say we shall remain true professionals, loyal to the Constitution and respectful of civilian authority. I say our hearts beat as strongly as yours in the fight against poverty and the enemies of the state. To the Filipino people, I say, we belong to you. We come from your ranks. We have the same aspirations for a peaceful and meaningful existence. I say, you can count on us to fight for your welfare. I say, we will create the Millennium AFP you can truly be proud of. To the enemies of the state, I say, you are not the true enemy. It is poverty. I say we shall treat you with compassion and restraint, but make no mistake of our resolve. Should the leadership so declare, we shall do everything within our capacities and prerogatives to restore and preserve the peace. To the officers and men of the AFP, I say, I remain one of you. The stars on my shoulders are mere ornaments of my authority. You have made me what I am today, and for this I am forever grateful. To you I say, you have made sacrifices in foregoing the right of choice, in accepting low pay and deprivation, in separation from your loved ones, in staring death in the eye as you go to combat. To you I say, I am proud of you, and together we shall even further strengthen our bonds with our people and do them proud. And now, with my fresh mandate as your Chief of Staff, and as the applause of this glorious occasion fades away, let us promptly begin to create the AFP of the future, founded on our values, equipped with the leadership, knowledge, and teamwork necessary to this undertaking. A great statesman once said, and I paraphrase, a man should, in his lifetime, plant a tree, write a book, and sire a child. Perhaps, in metaphorical language, what he really meant was that man's mortality can only be transcended by the immortal legacy he leaves behind. In this context, I am fully confident that our individual legacies as Filipinos and our noble legacy as a great nation shall prosper under a secure, democratic environment to which your AFP, now and of the future, shall render nothing less than its full share. In closing, I say, it shall be a long, arduous, but determined journey for us, your soldiers. May the hand of divine providence firmly guide our path. Thank you and good day.
Madala. Hali. Mga sampanaw. Ta!
The Secretary of National Defense, Honorable Orlando Sanchez Mercado, will now introduce the guest of honor.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, President of the Republic, His Excellency Joseph Ejercito Estrada.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Maraming salamat sa ating kalihim, Secretary Orly Mercado, Honorable Vice President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, my highly esteemed predecessor, His Excellency, former President Fidel V. Ramos, Our Honorable Acting Senate President Blas Oakley, Honorable House Speaker Manuel Villar Jr., outgoing AAP Chief of Staff General Jocelyn Nazareno and his wife, incoming AAP Chief of Staff General Angelo Reyes and his wife Teresita, AAP Vice Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Victor Mayo, AAP Major Service Commanders, PMP Acting Director General Edmund La Rosa, Bishop Ramon Arguelles, Military Vicar, Your Excellencies of the Diplomatic Corps, Honorable Members of the Senate and the House of Representatives, former AAP Chief of Staff and Defense Secretaries led by General Ernesto Mata, members of the Foreign Military Attaché Corps, former Prime Minister Cesar Birata, members of the Cabinet led by Executive Secretary Ronnie Zamora, officers and men of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, my other co-workers in government, other distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, mga minamahal kong kababayan, Brigade Commander, order your troops, tikas pahinga.
Nadala. Kalis. Tikas! Ha! Tikas. Ya.
Isang taon na ang nakalipas nang ako'y unang humarap sa sandatahang lakas ng Pilipinas bilang inyong Pangulo at Commander-in-Chief. Sa araw na yun, itinalaga ko si General Jocelyn Nazareno bilang bago ninyong pinuno para samahan kayo at ako sa isang bagong panimula. Si General Nazareno ang pinagkatiwalaan ko upang ipatupad ang aking mga layunin para sa sandatahan lakas. Unang-una na dito ang pagbibigay ng prioridad sa pagpapabuti ng kalagayan at kabuhayan ng ating mga sundalo. Inutos ko rin sa kanya na ipatupad ang mga aspeto ng AFP Modernization Program na hindi nangangailangan ng malaking gastusin para sa parte ng pamahalaan. Binigyan din ko rin noon na may iba pang responsibilidad na dapat gampanan ang hukbo bukod sa pangangalaga sa seguridad ng bansa. Kabilang dito ang pagbabantay sa ating demokrasya, ang pagpigil sa pagtaas ng kriminalidad, ang pagbabalik ng katahimikan sa Mindanao at iba pang bahagi ng bansa, ang pangangalaga sa ating likas kayamanan at ang paglahok sa mga gawaing pangkaunlaran. Kasabay ng lahat ng ito, nanawagan ako sa buong hukbo na panartilin ang pagkakaisa at katapatan sa tungkulin para matiyak ang tagumpay ng masang Pilipino. Nangako naman si General Nazareno na gagawin niyang lahat ng kanyang makakaya para sa mga kawal at mamamayang Pilipino. Pinanghawakan ko ang kanyang pangako at hindi naman ako nabigo. Indeed, I was more than satisfied with his performance that I extended his original term as Chief of Staff when it expired last April. 6 months into my presidency, I came back here to join you in celebrating the AFP's 63rd anniversary last December. On that occasion, I already commended General Nazareno and the entire armed forces for your performance. I also thank you for supporting the programs and policies of my administration, even as I enjoin you to continue building on your impressive gains. Ngayon, muli akong naririto upang samahan kayo sa isa namang bagong panimula. Magkakaroon ulit tayo ng bagong pinuno dahil tapos na ang extended term ni General Nazareno at magretiro na siya mula sa aktibong serbisyo militar. You should find no difficulty in this new beginning because your outgoing Chief of Staff has seen to it that your organization is strong and running smoothly. It is only fitting, therefore, that we send this outstanding officer and gentleman off with our best wishes and assurance of continued support as he re-enters civilian life. Let us all give him a big hand for his successful stint as Chief of Staff and for his 37 years of dedicated service as a soldier of the people. For my part, I'm sending General Nazareno off with my sincerest gratitude for working with me in the service of the Filipino masses. Maraming salamat at pinatunayan mong hindi ako nagkamali sa pagpili sa iyong mamuno sa ating sandatahang lakas. Dahil dito, iiwan mo ang serbisyo militar na baon ng aming paggalang at dalangin. Sana'y maging masaya ka sa iyong pribadong pamumuhay. Ang mga tungkuling patuloy na dapat gampanan ng sandatahang lakas, lalo na sa pagdating ng bagong siglo, ang magsisilbing hamon sa pamumuno ni Lieutenant General Angelo Reyes bilang bagong Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. I am confident that General Reyes will stand up to the challenge. I am sure he will continue the modernization program implemented by the outgoing Chief of Staff. He has committed to me that the program will be set on the right track to make the entire AFP respond effectively to both our external defense and internal security. Let me say here again that we have already allotted 10 billion pesos for the Armed Forces Modernization Program.